Okay, lesson 6.3, talking about polynomials. This is our first lesson using our new algebra iPad app. So if you're watching this video, make sure you have your algebra app to chapter 6, lesson 3. Okay, and then you can just follow along and scroll with me through this as we go. Lesson 6.3 is talking about polynomials. There are 3 different types of polynomials that are the most common in algebra. That is a monomial, a binomial, and a trinomial. So looking at the monomial, a monomial has one term. What I mean by terms is if I give you 5x squared plus 3x plus 4, the plus sign or a minus sign subtracts each of these into a term. So here's a term, here would be a term, here's a term. So a monomial is one term. An example of a monomial would be just a number, or it could be just a letter or a variable. Or it could be the product of a number and variables. For example, 4 times x times y. That is a monomial because it's a product. Not a monomial would look like negative 0.3 x to the negative 2. This is not a monomial because the exponent is negative. Or we can have 4x minus y. This is not a monomial because I have 2 terms right here. A monomial only has one term. In the end, 2 divided by x cubed would not be a monomial either because this does not involve a product. This is division. This is a quotient. So there's an example of some monomials and some that are not monomials. The degree of a monomial, that is the sum of the exponents of the variables. So to find the degree of a monomial, you need to look at the exponents of the variables. If a monomial does not have a variable, the degree is 0. So let's practice that. If I give you negative 2a squared b to the 4th, you can see this on example 1 on the letter A. If I look at the exponents of my variables, I can see I have 2 plus 4. So the degree is going to be 6. If I just have the number 4, I do not have a letter with this to look at the exponents, so the degree would be 0. And then if I have 8 times y, the degree is going to be your highest exponent, which in this case is 1. And if you look on your iPad app, there is a video that you can watch to explain that even further. Okay, a polynomial is a monomial or a sum or difference of monomials. To find the degree of a polynomial, you're going to take the degree of the term with the greatest degree. In this example, which you'll find on example 2 on your app, I can see that I have 2 terms. Okay, so if I take the degree of this first term, I know it's 1. The degree of this second term is 5. The greatest degree is 5, so the degree of that entire polynomial is going to be 5. My second polynomial, I can see I have 1, 2, 3 terms. The highest degree of this first term is 3, because 2 plus 1 is 3. The degree of this second term is 2, because I have 1 and 1. And the degree of this last term, I don't have a variable, so it has no degree. So I can see that the highest degree of this polynomial is going to be 3. And then here, I have 4 terms. Okay, the degree of this first term is 4, 2, 1, and 0. So the degree of this polynomial is going to be 4. Okay. Moving on, in example 3, it talks about writing polynomials in standard form. To write a polynomial in standard form, you have to order the exponents of a variable from greatest to least. So most to less. So I can see that in this polynomial, I can see that cubed is my highest degree, so I'm going to begin with negative 4x cubed. I'll mark it out after I write it down. From here I'm going to go squared, so I'm going to have minus x squared. And then that's going to leave me with plus 20x, and then plus 2. You can see our exponents are arranged from greatest to least, therefore it is now written in standard form. If it asks for the leading coefficient, the leading coefficient is the number right before that first term. So in this case, it's going to be negative 4. Okay, B, we're going to write this polynomial in standard form. My highest exponent is 5, so I'm going to have y to the 5th plus y cubed plus 4y. In this case, the leading coefficient is going to be in front of this y, there's an imaginary 1, so the leading coefficient is 1. If you scroll down through your app, you'll see a table right above example 4, and we're going to classify polynomials. Okay, if I have a degree of 1, that is going to be called linear. It's linear, and it also has 2 terms, so I'm going to say it's a linear binomial. A binomial has 2 terms. And this comes from a chart next to example, right above example 4. And this next polynomial, I can see that 2 is my highest degree, so that's going to be called quadratic. It's a quadratic trinomial because it has 3 terms. Tri means 3. And then C, if you have any power above 5, you're just going to say 7th degree. It's a 7th degree polynomial because it has more than 4 terms. Again, you can find all this right here in that table right above example 4 on your app. And then we have our physics application. At the beginning of every lesson, it's going to tell you who uses this. Because I know over and over y'all always ask me, when am I going to use this? Well, you no longer have to ask me that because this gives example of different careers that use this type of math. In this case, it's a pyrotechnician. I'm sure y'all have all been to a fireworks show, and it was all organized and all the fireworks went off at a certain time, and you've asked yourself, how do they do that? Well, in this example 5 on the physics application, it shows you exactly how they do that. It says, a firework is launched from a platform 6 feet above the ground at a speed of 200 feet per second. The firework has a 5-second fuse. The height of the firework in feet is given by the polynomial -16t squared plus 200t plus 6. And it says t is the time in seconds, so t is seconds. In the problem it told me it has a 5-second fuse, so t is really going to be 5. So to find the height, which is modeled by this equation right here, I'm just going to take the 5 and plug it in for t. So the height is going to equal -16 times 5 squared plus 200 times 5 plus 16. If you put all this in your calculator just as is, you're going to find the height of this firework is going to be 606 feet. So the firework is 606 feet in the air when it explodes. And let's go back through the checkpoints in this lesson, and I'm going to go over a few of these checkpoints just in case you need more clarification over some of these. The first set of check it out problems says find the degree of each monomial. So on 1a, it gives me 1.5 k squared m. Remember, to find the degree of a monomial, you're going to add the exponents of the variables. So in this case, 2 plus 1 is 3, so there's the degree. 1b, I'm going to have 4x. I know the degree is 1. 1c, I have 2c cubed. So here I can see that the degree is 3. On 2a, it wants us to find the degree of each polynomial. I have 5x minus 6. The degree is the highest exponent with a variable. In this case, it's going to be 1. On 2b, I have x cubed y squared plus x squared y cubed minus x to the 4th plus 2. In this first term, I'll see the degree is 5. Second term, the degree is 5. Third term, the degree is 4. In this last term, the degree is 0. So the highest degree of this polynomial is going to be 5. Then our last set of checkpoints. It wants us to write each polynomial in standard form. So on 3a, I have 16 minus 4x squared plus x to the 5th plus 9x cubed. Standard form, I have to start with the highest exponent of the letter. In this case, it's x to the 5th. And then I'm going to have plus 9x cubed minus 4x squared plus 16. It's now standard form. The leading coefficient is the number right before that first term, so in this case it's 1. And on 3b, I have 18y to the 5th minus 3y to the 8th plus 14y. Again, highest exponent would be negative 3y to the 8th, and plus 18y to the 5th, and then plus 14y. The leading coefficient is negative 3. Okay, and that's it for today's lesson.